Good morning, Trish. Happy 4th of July. Hope you had an awesome weekend.
I had a wonderful weekend. Absolutely. I just got home from 7 weeks of traveling around the United States. And so coming home is always comforting and also at the same time daunting because, you have this big house that you have to deal with. So, yeah, sometimes I'd rather be in the car.
Trish, can you please tell us about yourself? Who are you?
So, who am I? Well, so I'm a Salesforce consultant. I started as a Salesforce consultant late in life because I'm one of those people that has had like 4 or 5 different careers. So, in my 20s, I was a newspaper reporter. And then in my 30s, I was um, a high school teacher. And then in my 50s, I went back to school so that I could learn about computers. So here I am in my 3rd or 4th career. So yeah, I'm married. I have 2 beautiful children. One of them is a professor in Stockholm, Sweden, and the other one is just about to move into the trailer behind our house so he can look after his parents. So
Wow.
those are my kids.
Wow. So at age 50, you started exploring IT.
55.
55.
Yep, I was taking my son to college, and there was a presentation in the information systems management of information systems department, and I took him there because I thought he might really enjoy that. He likes computers, and he didn't think it was at all interesting. And I went, "Wow, this is so cool! I want to just do this." So that's what I did. I went back to school at the same time. My son went to college, and
Wow.
I took all the classes that you can take in management of information systems, and I fell in love with databases.
Wow. And
So,
that was an associate degree?
actually, no. I got the equivalent of a major, but I have a master's degree in English, so I don't really need another degree. So I just took the courses. I didn't actually sign up for any kind of piece of paper. I didn't need to.
Wow.
I don't
Wow.
I don't need any more pieces of paper.
You just need the practical knowledge.
Yep, that's it. That's totally it. Yep.
And how long did you go to college?
So I would say I went off and on for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I mean, just taking classes. Um, in the meantime, I was trying to find somebody that I could sort of practice this work on, and it turned out that the only place that was interested in me coming and working with them was this woman that I knew who has a nonprofit in Nepal. So I went to Kathmandu, and I spent some time working with her and came back and did, like, my senior project would be I designed a database for her organization. I mean, that was kind of like a school project, but that was my first database that I designed for anybody.
Wow, also. And at what point did you encounter Salesforce?
Um, I was a Vista volunteer for a while. After I had traveled quite a bit, my husband sort of took me aside and said, you really need to make the money for these trips that you're taking. I mean, we really can't afford to send you all over the world. You need to, finance this. So I got a job as a Vista volunteer. So I don't know if your listeners know about the Vista program, but um, it's Volunteers in Service to America. And essentially, it's a government program that pays you almost nothing to fight poverty. So I was making $11,000 a year. You can translate that into whatever system you use to count money, but it's really not very much money at all. It's a 40-hour a week job. So uh, I was able to, I worked for them for about 3 years, and about halfway through that, um, I was, I was, I was a member of a bunch of different nonprofit techie forums. And on every single forum, somebody would say, I have a problem. And somebody else would say, Salesforce can do that. And I was thinking, Salesforce. So how can a nonprofit thing be a Salesforce? That just sounds so like, businessy and capitalistic and, not at all nonprofity. But it turns out that since Salesforce offers 10 free licenses to any nonprofit that applies, um, it's the perfect database for nonprofits because they get 10 free licenses and it's just the best database in the world. So, I mean, as far as customer relationship management, in the nonprofit world, we call it constituent relationship management, which comes to roughly the same thing. But yeah, so I installed it. I was working at Faith Action International House. They look after the immigrants that come to the city of Greensboro here where I live. And we had a immigrant assistance center. So I set up, you know, a case management system doing that. I also ran little conferences using campaigns with Salesforce. And, it just worked perfectly. And so I consulted the Vista people and I asked them if I could get other organizations in our community into Salesforce, and they said yes. So I just started offering my services as a Salesforce consultant to anybody that, because I could do it for free for them because that's the way Vista program works. So I think I got about 4 or 5 different organizations in this part of the world into Salesforce before I left that place and went on to my next adventure. So my next adventure was Cloud for Good. The CEO of Cloud for Good called me up and said, Trish, why don't you come work for us? And I said, okay. And he said, how much money do you want? And I said, I was thinking of how much I made and I just doubled it. And he said, okay. And I thought, oh, darn. I should have done a little research on that one. That's okay. I didn't need any more than that. This is you live and learn, right? I mean, it's like, no, you don't double your salary and think it's going to work. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Cloud for Good is a well-known company.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I think it's one of the best. Well, I think they just got like partner of the year the last year. Really? So yeah, they're very, very well known, and I learned a whole lot there, I have to say. Previously, before I got to Cloud for Good, I was kind of making it up as I went along because I'd never been a consultant before, and so I had installed Salesforce, so I could just install Salesforce anywhere, right? It's no big deal. So I learned a lot about the whole process of all of the different steps that go into Salesforce implementation and a little more professionalism about how to go about it. So that was a useful stop. I stayed for 2 years, and at 2 years I was ready to move on and go out into the world as my own person, as a consultant on my own. As soon as I left there, I went to Newfoundland for a trip, and I came back from Newfoundland, and I thought that I would just have, 6 or 8 months. I thought, when you start a consultancy like this, it takes you about 2 years. I had heard, to get kind of up and going and getting things, so you're actually, making money and you have clients. And so I figured I would have about 6 months to put a website together and, get all my, all my ducks in a row. And I didn't. I mean, the minute I got back, I had clients, and I had my first really big client is still my client is called Graduate Network, and they help people graduate that have some college but no degree, graduate from university with degrees. The idea being that if you have a college degree, you can make more money and support the economy and support your family better. So people who have dropped out of college for various reasons, sometimes they didn't have the money, sometimes they had student loans, but they couldn't pay them back. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people leave college, but this organization helps people go back to college. And they have established a bunch of affiliations, organizations that are affiliated with them. So it's like a membership network. So I didn't have one client, I had 14 clients. It just was, suddenly I was super, super busy. So it's now 10 years later, I'm starting to get a website together. It's like I was able to take the pandemic and start to get it done. It's not, I still have a meeting with them this week to try to finalize it, but really, I just was too busy. I just could never, ever find the time to actually sit down and design a website. So I finally paid somebody to do it just now.
Could you tell us, please? I'm very curious. Cloud for Good is a good company. You were learning there. You're working with good people. They were paying you well. Maybe if you asked them 70,000, they would be fine after 2 years. Why did you decide to become independent consultant?
First of all, I asked them for a raise and they offered me 3%.
Oh.
There was that. Also, as Cloud for Good was growing, they had less and less time for the small nonprofits that really, at the time, I think we probably called them quick starts. Just small nonprofits that want to do fundraising and really can't afford what Cloud for Good was asking in terms of payment. And I knew that I could work for less than that for nonprofits. And then I would provide, the kind of expertise that they wouldn't normally get with some volunteer or somebody. But on the other hand, they could afford me. So, in fact, I started out in this business saying, all right, so how much money do I really need? So if I count, my half of the food and lodging and all this, how much would that be per hour? And so I came up with $25 an hour. And all of my friends in the nonprofit Ohana, they were like, Trish, you can't do that. You can't charge $25 an hour. That is not going to work. No, don't do it. So I said, okay. So I went up to 50. And then when I brought my husband on board, because he retired from being a college professor, and he's a stupendous photographer and videographer. And I thought, well, I can just add him to the team. So I did. So now I charge $75 an hour. And $75 an hour is about half the going rate, which works very well because a lot of my colleagues in the business are interviewing clients that just say, I'm sorry, I can't afford you. And they're like, okay, well, we know somebody that you might be able to afford. So then I get a lot of referrals from my friends in the Salesforce Ohana because I can charge what a small nonprofit can afford. And that is important to me because I'm able to work with folks that would not be able to have access to a Salesforce consultant. So, and then they have to rely on people that don't know what they're doing, and that makes it worse.
How long have you been independent now?
So I left Cloud for Good in 2014. So it's 8 years.
7 years, yeah. Okay. And how are you liking it? Do you like being independent consultant? Are you loving your jobs, your projects, or is like this bureaucracy or keeping track of the hours or taxes driving you nuts?
No, it doesn't. No, because the keeping track of taxes part is really easy. I have a financial consultant who is a friend of mine, and she said, you know, Trish, here's what you do. Every time you get a check, you just go to the government website and give them some money. And so that's what I do. I mean, once a month, I sit down and figure out how much money I made, and then I take a percentage of that and send it to the feds, and that's the end of it. That's
That's
really
it.
really super easy. Um,
Now it's been 7 years that you're independent consultant. Are you making as much as you did at Cloud for Good?
more,
More? Awesome. What about your level of satisfaction? Is it more or much more?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, because I'm able to take the time. You know, when you work for a big company like that, they've got a really tight schedule, and and I can't speak for how Cloud for Good works now. I wouldn't want to, but I know that when I was working for them, we had 5 hours of training for the people that we worked with, and I think that's not enough. And so I'm able to say, well, I'm going to come up with 10 or 15 hours of training. We need to really learn this stuff so that you can take this product that you've got and run with it and excel with it. And most of them don't start as techie people. Most of them start, we call them accidental admins for a reason, because somebody hands them their fundraisers and somebody says, well, here's this database, why don't you learn it? So they have a long way to come, most of my clients, in terms of how they use Salesforce. So um, I'm glad to be able to say, well, we'll take as long as we need. We can get there from here. So
Well done. One thing that stands out for me about you is that you're not afraid to take risks, even at, at what age did you become independent consultant?
um, I must have been about 68 or
68.
69. I can't remember. Well, I think, yeah, it must have been 68, because I think I went to work for Cloud for Good when I was 66. So yeah.
Were you ever afraid, like, what if I don't find customers? What if people don't trust me?
No,
No.
no, I wasn't afraid of that at all, because I'd been working with people. I mean,
Okay.
when I was living here I mean, working in Greensboro. I mean, I started what I call Tech Tuesday thing, and I just invited the nonprofits from the area to come and talk about technology with me once a month. And so, I just, that's where I found the people that wanted Salesforce. And so it just, yeah,
Trisha, I know you consult locally within US and also internationally,
yes,
Asia and
yes. See, that was the business plan from the beginning. My first client was in Nepal, right?
yes.
And then after that, the Rotary Club sent me to Darjeeling, India, to study Nepali, because I wanted to be able to talk to people in the Nepalese that I was working with in Nepal. But Nepal was having a civil war at the time, so I went to Darjeeling, which is a town where everybody speaks Nepali. So so I have a client that's there too, and
And you speak Nepali?
um, if I'm in a situation with people who don't speak any English, then I can carry on a very rudimentary conversation.
Wow, and you learned a new language.
Yeah.
The different countries you visited as a Salesforce consultant. Let's just list them.
Okay, so let's see. I would say let's start west. Okay, we'll start over to the west part. I would say New Caledonia is an island in the Pacific. Um, I worked with the Human Rights Council there to help them with their website. I didn't do a Salesforce with them, but I did help them with their website. I worked with Habitat for Humanity in New Zealand, and then Cambodia. I work, and you were asking me. I saw on the list you were asking me about the really interesting clients. In Cambodia, the really interesting client that I have is Far the Cambodian Circus. So it's a circus in Siem Reap, which is a very, very touristy town in Cambodia. And they also have a visual and performing arts school where they teach acrobatics. They teach circus performing to young people that are orphaned or abandoned or just street kids, kids that are disadvantaged and would not have this kind of future. And then they are the performers in the Far the Cambodian Circus. And Far the Cambodian Circus has traveled all over the world, and they've had the National Geographic show up and take pictures.
So we're in Cambodia, and then where do we go?
So then we'll go to India, and it's in the upper right-hand corner of India. It's called Darjeeling, and that is where the tea is grown. So if you've ever heard of Darjeeling tea, it's up there. And then in Nepal, I've had three clients altogether, and that's just like I just hear about it. I meet people when I'm there, and then we go and do things. And then Ethiopia, and I have a client in Paris, who is actually that's my only nonprofit client.
Profits.
I also had a client in South Africa, in Cape Town, South Africa. I worked with an organization that is going to end homelessness eventually. Let's see, I think that's it. Let me think about this.
Oh, you were saying New Zealand, I think.
Oh yeah, New Zealand, the Habitat for Humanity in
New
Zealand.
Was New Zealand. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So your American customers pay you $75. Your international probably cannot afford $75.
Well, my international, so right from the beginning, I had this idea that I wasn't going to actually ask for money from my international clients. I would be paid in room and board, and essentially best friend hospitality is one of my Salesforce Ohana people called it that. And so that's really what I'm looking for. Pick me up at the airport, provide me a place to sleep, feed me, provide me with decent internet, because I have to have internet. So, yep. So that works. Now, some people call that volunteering. I don't call that volunteering. I provide a professional service, and I get paid, in room and board. And I think it's important for nonprofits everywhere to provide something to their volunteers that costs them something, because otherwise I think it's true that a volunteer is they're grateful for volunteers, but they don't really value them that much. And I provide them with a service that is pretty valuable. So I expect them to have some skin in the game, and providing me with something to eat every 3 meals a day and a place to sleep is a way that they can pay me for what I do.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's an amazing deal.
yeah, it is a very good deal.
Trisha, your specialty is helping nonprofits,
Yes.
right? And let's say I'm hearing your story right now, and I'm a nonprofit based in Kyrgyzstan, which is where I'm from, where I was born. I
Mhm.
grew up there until I was 10 years old. And this nonprofit is interested in talking to you. What kind of specialty, what is your specialty? How do you help nonprofits? Like, what kind of problems do you solve for them?
I think that the Nonprofit Success Pack is a pretty straightforward package. And just recently, they've added program management as a package, and I have installed that a couple of times. There's the education data architecture also. So I'm kind of a jack of all nonprofit trades here. I do. I I I work with my clients from where they are. So whatever they need, I can. If I one of the things I tell my clients, and this is useful sometimes, is that I have a lot of friends in the business. I know developers, I know automation people. I'm you meet a lot of people when you're a Salesforce consultant that are also either consultants or they're people that just really know what they're doing. Um, so for instance, if I get stuck on a formula, I just send a message to Steve Moe, because Steve Moe knows everything about formulas. And Rakesh Gupta, he's the automation guy. And so I just get a hold of Ramesh and say, can you help me? This. And so I tell my clients, you hire me, but you also hire all my friends. So, if we get stuck and we've got stuff that we need help with, yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
And the people you mentioned, Steve Moe and Rakesh Gupta, they're the number one people in each of their fields. So
yeah, they are. And I am pleased to call them both friends of mine.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, man, they may not call me a friend of theirs, but I'm calling them a friend of mine. We'll see. When this comes out, they may have something to say about it.
Trish, so you've done a bunch of different careers, yeah? Journalist, I forgot what other things you mentioned.
So freelance writer, newspaper reporter, high school teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, I did
And
all that.
how does this compare to your previous jobs? Like, this
is the best job I ever had.
is the best job you ever had?
Oh yeah. Oh, by all means. I mean, I enjoyed the other stuff.
So this is the best job you ever had.
Absolutely.
And you got to this job when you were like 65 or something, right?
Already other people were retiring around me. The only really big problem with this job is that all my friends are already retired. I mean, I have a few young friends that aren't retired, and I bless them, because really all the folks that I have hung out with for years, they're all like, grilling in the backyard and going for weekends at the beach, and just like living the retired life.
I'm sure you can do that too, though. You can still grill and go to the beach, work from there, right?
I do, yeah. But then I have to go back in and finish up the work I was doing.
Which do you prefer?
So I love this job. I love this work. I love my clients. So it's a relationship that I value. These relationships that I have with my clients, they're friendly and helpful, and I just like doing it. I just could see myself going and going until the end comes.
So you're having the best time of your life. You love your customers. Your customers love you. You actually,
most of them do. Let's put it that way.
Okay, most of them do. Yeah, and you're actually making something, like making an impact. Yeah, for these nonprofits. You're offering a unique service for them. They really value your work. And You want to keep doing this forever until like
Until the end. Yes.
until the end?
That's the plan.
Do you know anyone? Do you have any friends who do something like you?
You mean who
Who
travel internationally? Some of my friends come with me when I travel internationally.
okay, but I mean like
So
working in during the retirement years as a IT consultant.
no, actually, I don't know anybody. Now I'm sure that there's probably somebody that does this, but I don't know them. I don't know anybody. All the Salesforce people that I know that are Salesforcey people are they're actually of working age because you have to realize they all started when they were like 25, you know.
Mm,
And so sometimes I sort of go, if I were 25 when I started, that I would be about like 45 right now, or maybe even 40. So yeah, I sometimes think of me as somebody who's roughly about 40 because
yes,
that's where I am in my career, you know. I'm like at the level of the career that you would be in if you started at 25 and you're now
yeah,
40,
yeah.
So it just works. But I mean, they've done it. They will have done it for their whole working careers, and then they look and they want to do something else. I mean, I understand that. Um, it's just that I I don't want to do anything else. I'm just happy doing this. So
Do you think you're the oldest Salesforce consultant out there?
I don't know anybody that's older than me, but every now and then there's a developer guy that I run across, and I've forgotten his name, um, and I I look at his white hair and I think he might be roughly my age. I'm not sure. So, but I don't think he started late. I think he started like back when they were doing machine language,
Okay.
and because really there's still plenty of people that were doing computers back when everybody was writing machine language.
Yes, yes.
They have not that generation is still chucking along.
Yeah,
It was not my generation.
yeah.
I mean, when I was a newspaper reporter, we had manual typewriters. I mean, those great, huge black things, and we had to put the phone on our ear like this so that we could type. And yeah, it was.
Awesome. You have the best retirement program.
I think it's a really great retirement program, and I wish I could recruit some sort of youngish person. I mean, not youngish, but somebody who's like on the cusp of retiring, who's interested in like um, taking this up because it's, I mean, I don't put in the number of hours that I put in at Cloud for Good. I don't ask myself to bill 35 hours a week or 40 hours a week. I'm not trying to do that. I don't have to do that. I make enough money without doing that. So, you know, um, and my client work gets done without that. So, I have the liberty to go have lunch with a friend here in town. I have the liberty to take off for 7 weeks and just drive, you know, um, and then work for my clients when I get to wherever I'm going. I mean, it's not as intense a work pace as the younger people have, but I don't need the kind of money they need. I don't need the kind of stress they need.
Mm.
So, you know,
Tish, uh, you got into the Salesforce world pretty late for many people, yeah. Like I forgot you were
it's
like
never too late.
never too late, never too late. But you did well. You learned Salesforce. You worked for a well-known company, Cloud for Good, and you've been helping a whole bunch of nonprofits in US and outside. And on top of this, you became a Salesforce MVP. It's something that that very few people have achieved. I think what just 20 people a year or something, or I don't know.
I don't know. And what I learned was that Salesforce likes this international work I do.
Hmm.
They like the fact that I'm doing this work. So I think, I mean, it's always a mystery when somebody is awarded the MVP. It's like, wow, how did that happen? It's like, wow, that okay. Yeah, I mean, I co-lead a user group here in town. Um, I answer questions in the Power of Us hub. Um, I go to I used to go to the monthly, ask me anything sessions on the nonprofits. Um, I'm involved in the community because the community feeds me. The community supports me, so I have a responsibility to give back to the community. But yeah, I there are lots of people that give back to the community and do a lot for the community. So it's a mystery. I don't know how it happened, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful that that I'm an MVP. It does.
So
It probably helps people feel comfortable about calling me up and asking me to be their consultant. Maybe, I don't know.
yeah, and
We'll see. So before we leave, though, I should say one thing about my sort of apex final push project, because when I was in Nepal, it was clear to me that we needed a mobile app that we could use with Salesforce. And there's a couple of organizations that have mobile apps. I mean, Salesforce has a mobile app itself. The difficulty is that you have to have a license for for all of your field workers, for everybody that's going out into the field. And my nonprofits can't afford that. And so I was interested in developing a mobile app that could be used offline, because they don't even have phone service in India, in a lot of the places where their health workers are visiting people. And so so we're in the process. I'm now in the process of developing this mobile app, which will connect with Salesforce through one integration user. So they would need only one of their 10 licenses to use this mobile app, and it would be offline and online for all of the health workers that need to collect data in the field. And that is happening. It's going to be part of the Open Source Commons, which is an organization within Salesforce. It's within the nonprofit world itself to support people that want to work on projects that are that will benefit the whole community. They will be open source. They will always be free for nonprofits that want to use them. And that's the way I see this mobile app thing happening. So we have a proof of concept, and we have several versions of it already ready to be tested. The folks in Darjeeling are using the first version that we put together with this. So we have 50 health workers out in the field that take out their phone and log their data and hit sync when they get back into connectivity, and it goes into their Salesforce. So I would like to see, and this is something that I can really see as kind of like the very sort of culmination of the career that I have, would be to be able to travel around the world and just install this app in any organization that wants to use Salesforce and use this mobile app. So we call it the Grassroots Mobile Survey App. It is awesome. It is really awesome.
So you're contributing to even to Salesforce itself.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because at first they were a little skeptical about this, sort of like, one user coming in, that doesn't seem like it's going to be very profitable. But then, the truth is it's not going to be profitable at all. So it's okay. It's going to be free. It's going to be on the open source commons, and people will be able to download it from the open source commons little gated community at the App Exchange.
So basically the idea is that there's an integration user that will allow people access into Salesforce.
Yeah.
So they're saving on license costs, right? Instead of 10 licenses, there's just one integration user.
Yeah.
And the data is still personalized to their names.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They do get, because we have a system where they end up with a caseload. And then when they open their phones, they only see their own caseload. So that's their caseload comes to them. So that's the way it works. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's pretty exciting.
It was so interesting to talk to you. Amazing life.
Well, thank you. It's amazing to me, actually. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, why? You still happy about it, or
Yeah.
you're still high about how awesome your life is? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I get up every morning. I think the miracle for me is that I wake up every morning and I have energy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, oh, goody, I've got some energy. That's great. Let's just go with it.
Some old people go to sleep in the middle of the day. Like, I bet you have too much energy to go to sleep, right?
I don't get that. Sometimes it would be a good idea, but no, that doesn't work.
I know people who are older than me, but they're younger than you, and they go to sleep like, I think because they don't have anything to do,
That could be.
or they're bored.
Yeah.
But you're too excited.
Yeah, I do. I have way too much to do that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Well, awesome. I'm so happy that Ohana has a person like you.
Well, and I'm so happy that Ohana has somebody like you. That we all have our little place in this world. That's the thing. And that is the beauty of Salesforce. There is a place for all of us. And we feel welcomed. I mean, that's just the best thing is we feel like I never have anybody who are like, who says, oh, well, you're too old for this. I mean, why are you still doing this? Why don't you, go get your retirement? Like, people, no, I never get that. Nobody ever suggests that maybe I'm over the hill, and, maybe I should move on and, put my feet up and go for long walks on the beach. And that's it. It's just like, no, I get, it's like people come to me and they're like, okay, well, how do I do this? How can I get my program management system so that it serves more of the clients that we've got, and we want to expand it and bring our entire business in. Can you do that? And so, I mean, as long as there's people that want me to do work for them, sometimes, I'm like, maybe this is going to dry up at some point, maybe I'm just going to stop having clients. And, I guess if I stop having clients, then I guess that'll be the end of my career. But so far, people keep calling me up and saying, we heard about you and we're thinking maybe we would like to work with you. And I'm like, okay, let's just do it. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope you go to visit Kyrgyzstan or Central Asia one day. Maybe you'll have a customer there.
Well, so the idea is that you should actually get a hold of your connections in Kyrgyzstan and find me a nonprofit.
Okay.
And I will be there.
Awesome.
That's the way it worked for South Africa. One of my friends one of my Salesforce friends had done some work with this outfit, and the executive director was at Dreamforce. And she introduced me to him and said, Trish does this thing and she could do this. And we sat and talked, and he said, well, so when can you when do you think you'd be able to come to South Africa? And I said, how about what's a good time? Like next March? How about that? He was like, fine. So I got on a plane and went to South Africa, you know.
Trish, thank you so much for your time, your
Well,
knowledge,
thank
your
you for
life.
yours. Thank you for yours. This has been lots of fun. So, and we're looking for people that are interested in that mobile app because I can get on an airplane and come install it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I'll
just
start.
saying.
I'll start looking. I'll
Okay.
start thinking.
Okay.